Hi there everybody, Dave here from HeyUGuys, and today I am joined by the fabulous Zehra Phelan,
Hello.
the amazing, I can't use Skype, Stefan Pape,
Hello.
and all the way from Hollywood, Paul Heath. Hello?
Hello. Why am I last to be introduced? Because I wasn't last on the call.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
So just to fill you in, listeners, we've spent the last half an hour waiting for Stefan to work out how to use Skype. But hey, he did it. And he's with us.
I'm here now, guys.
Winner. It was worth the wait, no doubt. Today we are going to be talking about Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, which is a film that we've been very much looking forward to for a very long time, actually, ever since it was announced that he was going to be making it. Stefan, do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of sort of what it's about and, I guess, in a nutshell, what you thought of it?
It's set in 1940. It's all based on real events, and it's 400,000 British, French, Belgian and Canadian soldiers that are kind of stranded in Dunkirk. And they're surrounded by the German army, and they've got very little hope of survival because the Germans are dropping bombs constantly on the beach, which is where they all are, kind of desperately trying to sort of anticipate a rescue mission. But time is running out. But you've got so there's boats that are trying to rescue them. So you've got the likes of Mark Rylance's Mr. Dawson, who's just trying to help out and come along. But then you've got Kenneth Branagh, who's playing Commander Bolton, who's trying to kind of get all of the actual ships to try and help out. You've got Tom Hardy in the sky trying to lend a hand, and you've got the sort of soldiers on the ground who are just trying to do anything they can to get out alive. But obviously, as the longer that it goes on, the more chances of survival become slimmer. So it's just basically a story of just these 400,000 soldiers who are just trying to find a way back home, but as time sort of continues to tick, it looks increasingly more unlikely. And the film, you asked what I thought of it, it's absolutely bloody amazing. So that's my review.
You gave it 5 stars, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
So just to sort of expand a bit on that, the Mark Rylance character in the film, he is just an ordinary citizen on the mainland in Britain, and Dunkirk isn't really that far away from England at all. And throughout the film, we constantly hear the characters looking across the sea and just saying, you know, home is so close but so far away, so unreachable. And what's amazing about this story is just the fact that the British Navy they couldn't commit, you know, multiple huge ships to go and collect these 400,000 men because the Germans were continually bombing them, and submarines were torpedoing them, so they couldn't send our entire fleet over. So what's amazing really is the Mark Rylance character is sort of representative of the normal bloke who has a ship, or has a small sort of fishing boat, really, a pleasure boat, and travels over to France to do what he can. The British government didn't really let on just quite how severe and how bad this was, and it really is a astonishing story. Paul, do you want to just give us a bit of a thought on what you thought of the film? Do you agree? Was it absolutely bloody brilliant?
Yes, I do agree that it's every bit as amazing as you've heard and expect it to be, being a Christopher Nolan film. I thought that he uses it's a very different film for him, I think, in terms of, I mean, it's certainly shorter than most of his other films, but it still uses a lot of the things with time. So he uses that as a big plot device. So it's split into 3 different chunks, and they're all set at different times. I think one's a day, one's an hour, and one's a week. Am I right there?
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's right.
Yeah, and they all sort of converge, don't they, as the film progresses? So it's quite unique in that way, and I really like that part about it.
So it can't be
Obviously,
a week, can it? It must be a day, an hour.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's 3 different times. To be honest, I wasn't really paying as much attention during that part. But no, please do. It's literally opening couple of scenes. It tells you, and it does take a while to get used to that, I thought. But obviously, he's on the nose with it all, and it all comes together quite nicely in the end. And obviously, you've got some great performances. We can see Kenneth Branagh on there now, and he's amazing as you expect him to be. But I thought Harry Styles was really good. I don't know what anyone else thought, but I thought he was excellent.
It's a funny casting, this, isn't it? Because you've got some really big acting names, Cillian Murphy, Tom Hardy, and then some sort of people you'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
You know, and then Harry Styles, who, you know, is obviously One Direction fame, hasn't acted before, and there he is. Was a bit of an odd casting. Sarah, what did you think? Did he sell it for you?
He actually did. I actually went into it really wanting to hate him because I'm not a big One Direction fan, but I was actually really surprised. His character wasn't a very nice character, I have to admit. His acting did really surprise me. He'd done really quite a good job.
Stefan, thoughts on the castings?
Yeah, I quite like the fact that I think Christopher Nolan said as well that he was deliberately trying to find kind of young, inexperienced actors for the soldiers. I think because obviously that's what taps into the characters they're playing. But Harry Styles, I know obviously he's really famous, but he is still inexperienced. But he was really good, and I don't think too much was asked of them in many regards. I mean, they just had to kind of look frightened, but he has a good face for it, and I think he obviously he's cut all his hair off, and he looks the part, and he didn't. I wouldn't say he was terrific or anything like that, but he wasn't bad. And I guess, when you've got someone who you can feel like might be a kind of gimmicky casting, a bit like Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones, for example. You just think, is he only in there for that reason? But I don't think he was only in there because of his following. I don't think Chris Nolan needs the kind of young teenage girl kind of following for this movie because he knows he's going to get huge box office numbers anyway. So I think he cast him because he deserved it. It was a good performance, but I think all of the casting across the board was really good. But the best kind of addition was probably Hans Zimmer because I think the score is so incredible.
Is unreal, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's like a ticking clock the whole way through it, which is so intense.
Well, I've never been in a film that I was thinking about this. That there's basically this constant drone of bass through most of the film. If it's not sort of audio created by the score, it's by clever engines, the noise that they use from the engines of boats or the Spitfire engines or whatever it happens to be. But the score is, I've never been in a film quite like that. It was relentless, and I guess it just kept you on tense for the entire duration. Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we were in a screening, we're obviously in the IMAX, but I thought, I don't know about anybody else, but it's so loud. I know I'm getting on a bit, but it's like, it was the gunshots, it did just pierce through you, literally, don't you, as they go off on camera. And it's quite relentless all the way through the film, but that all adds to the experience, obviously. And I think looking at the picture as well as the sound, it needs to be seen on the biggest screen you can find. It's just overwhelming, and obviously that adds to what he's trying to represent that this time in World War II is like, I think. But I loved it.
And Nolan is a genius. He's known for lots of Inception. He's done the Dark Knight trilogy, and more recently he did Interstellar as well. But he pushes boundaries. So there's talk where he's actually strapped IMAX cameras to the wings of Spitfires, which is an astonishing feat considering the Spitfires aren't the biggest planes in the world, and IMAX cameras are absolutely massive. Paul, what do you think to Nolan sort of as like you said at the beginning, it's a different to his sort of normal style, but did it do it for you?
Yeah, definitely. The IMAX experience. I haven't been to a proper IMAX screening of a film that has been shot in IMAX probably since Interstellar. Actually, I sat we're in the BFI IMAX in Waterloo, and we sat probably halfway up, and that still wasn't enough to just get we were just absorbed in the screen and having to look and shift ourselves around to see different aspects of the film, which is what obviously it's all about. But that obviously adds to it more so than 3D can do. We saw a film last night which was in 3D, which was just unbearable. But the IMAX experience, especially for this film, was top draw. And as I said, you've got to see it in a cinema with a massive screen, because it just fills it with just marvel all the way through. It's great.
And Stefan, the cast, as we said, was relatively new. There was obviously veterans in there like Mark Rylance, who, as per usual, is just awesome. We actually spoke to him at the junket, so you can see that interview on our YouTube channel on HeyUGuys.com. But what did you think about the mix between these sort of A-listers and the not so well-known guys?
I think it worked because I think the character, because you had the more experienced actors were playing the more experienced kind of war, not veterans, but like, for example, like Kenneth Branagh playing a commander and Mark Rylance playing like someone who's older and kind of very kind of courageous and knows what he's doing. And it suited the fact, I think, that the kind of soldiers who were kind of thrown into this situation, and they're just young boys, and I think that the film really plays into that. I think it worked well that they were inexperienced. It worked well that we didn't know who they were. So you had all these basically just kids who were just kind of facing something that no kid should ever have to face. I think the balance kind of worked. You had the quite experienced actors doing all the saving. Tom Hardy's trying to save people, Mark Rylance is trying to save people, and it's the kids that were the ones who needed to be saved, the more inexperienced actors. So I think it kind of fed in well and kind of matched the sort of characters at hand, I think. So that worked for me. But I just think I was going off what Paul was saying before about the kind of the structure of it. It's so intelligently put together. That's the thing about this movie that I love, is that it's simple and at the same time really complex. And that's why I think when you see a movie that Chris Nolan's directing, it's not going to be straightforward. And I saw the trailer for this, and obviously I thought, well, obviously it's based entirely on real events. How creative can he be with a real life story? But he manages to be creative, and this film, it feels distinctively his, despite the fact it's unlike anything he's ever done before. That's what, he's such a good director. And I wasn't that huge on Interstellar, and I didn't understand Inception. It made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
Oh, I was alright with Inception.
I do think
Interstellar
this is
that really, I'm still not sure what happened in that film.
I know everyone's kind of saying it, and it sounds like some kind of hyperbole or whatever, but I do think this is his best movie. I really do.
Zehra, is it Nolan's best for you?
It is, actually. I mean, what I really liked about it as well, that it didn't matter if you had the A-list cast in there mixed with the unknowns, because there was a minimal amount of dialogue as well, which you didn't need to have lots of dialogue in there. I think from the performances alone, and from the big action sequences of the bombs dropping and the ship sinking, that was enough. That the visual story was enough.
It's not hyperbole. Is it hyperbole? Is that the word? How do you say that word?
Hyperbole.
Is that what it is? Or is it hyperbole?
I don't know, mate.
Hyperbole.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Who cares?
But the only fan
listening
of mine
right now anyway.
is Russian. You won't get it.
Obviously, we are all rather sold by Dunkirk. I've been Paul. Rating for you?
5 stars. Best film. Yeah.
Best film of the year.
I think so. Yeah. Certainly of the summer. So far.
Stefanovic?
Yeah, 5. It's weird in terms of release dates. I don't think it's the best film of the year, because obviously you had all the Oscar ones like Manchester by the Sea and whatnot at the beginning of the year. But I think, but we all saw those at the festivals last year. So I think this year is the best film I've seen. I think.
Zehra?
Yeah, I have to agree with the boys. It's the best I've seen so far, and I'm giving it a 5.
Excellent, and it's a 5 for me as well. So it's 5 across the board. And if you look at the TV adverts, which we're on, Paul, is Hollywood News on there?
I think you'll find we are no, we're not. No.
Turned it down. So you can see just like the across the board, it's getting 5-star reviews. I'm sorry, Paul, I couldn't resist. So we actually got to speak to a few of the cast, as I mentioned earlier. Did you, Paul? Did you get to speak to the cast?
Turned it down. Not 1,000 a day, mate. Not 1,000 a day. You know what I mean?
I mean, the film's not going to make waves, is it, in the box office? There's no point.
No one's going to. This one will. I was about to say sink without trace, but that's not.
Mark Rylance ever won. You know what
Who's
I mean?
that?
Mark Rylance.
I know.
Oscar winner. So there you go.
That Mark Rylance picture is really creepy because he's staring right into the camera. Can you see that? It's really creepy.
When I look at Mark Rylance though now, all I see is the BFG. I can't look past that. So Dunkirk is out the 21st of July, which is tomorrow. Do let us know what you think of it in the comments when you've seen it. Like and subscribe as always. Yeah, do check out our Junket interviews because they are awesome, done by Stefan Pape. And we will see you next time on The Mouth Off. Take care, everybody. Bye.
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 Unenthusiastic Wally.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey!